the Studio Cuts podcast with Taylor with WRRV.
This is the Studio Cuts podcast. Hey, it's Taylor from 92.7, 96.9 WRRV, and the Studio Cuts podcast is where we interview artists that were featured on Sunday Studio Cuts, our new music show on WRRV. Today, we're hanging out with Saint Nomad. They're three brothers who've teamed up to form a band together, and their song Nothing to Lose is making an impact in the alternative world. Where are each of you right now?
So I'm actually on the road. This is Nikita. I'm on the road driving from Denver to Sarasota, Florida. So I just pulled over. The guys can give their update.
Ruslan is in Nashville at the moment, and Jan here. I live in Denver, so I'm in Denver right now.
Wow, so you guys are really spread out. Is there like crazy weather going on anywhere where you are? Or is there any like super strict COVID restrictions?
Yeah, Denver, we had like freezing temperatures, but then also had 63 degrees yesterday.
Wow.
Guys, so that's kind of Colorado for you, though. You know, it's like you don't like the weather, you gotta wait 5 minutes and it'll change.
What was it like for you three to come from Russia to America?
That was a really crazy experience, actually. I mean, we were all pretty young. I'm Ruslan, the oldest, and so it was definitely the biggest, I feel like one of the biggest differences for me, just because I went to school in Russia, and just coming to America was really, really, really strange, because I remember coming and, like, hating pizza. It was like my mom was like, "Here's a slice of pizza." It was like a welcome party when we came to the United States, and they had pizza for dinner for everyone. And I remember being like, "What is this food? This is what they eat here in America." So it's like a really different thing we weren't used to. And then the other thing for all of us really was the language barrier. We came here, and like I went straight to third grade and didn't know the language at all. So it's kind of like the sink or swim situation. And so I did some like ESL and things like that. But eventually, here we are.
Yeah, I feel like at this point we're probably more. I mean, we are Americans. We are citizenship, and then Russian. Although we certainly still hold on to some Russian culture.
Yeah, I would say Ruslan's recollection is very accurate to mine in terms of like just being. I remember crying at like that pizza because all I wanted was like the food that I had as a kid, and like I'd be like in the cafeteria and they would be like serving some something typical and like a PBJ sandwich or something like that, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I've never tried this.
How did you all get into music?
That's a great question, Taylor. So we grew up in a pretty musical family. My grandmother was a piano teacher. And so at our house, it was like a rule that day you turn 7, you have your first piano lesson, and it was mandatory until like you were 12 or something. So we had weekly lessons with grandma, and that really, instilled the love of music for us. But growing up, my dad was always playing in different jam bands, and back in Russia, even he had a little jam band too. So my mom sings and is musical, so it's definitely something that just ran in the family, and then it just kind of took off. It became our life.
What is it like being in a band with your brothers?
I'll let one of the guys take that one.
Honestly, it's been amazing. We really are like each other's best friends, and honestly, because we started music so young, and one of our main outlets for music has always been playing music with the band and with each other. I honestly can't tell you otherwise. Like, I will say this, just having friends, and my wife is actually a musician and it's a band, and I've seen dynamics of other bands close up. I would say that we are way more democratic than a lot of bands that I've experienced. It's a true democracy, and like the like when it comes to making big decisions, it's definitely like the majority rule.
Would you see yourselves bringing in any outsiders to join the band, or would you keep it strictly just you three?
I think Saint Nomad, the three of us. I don't know, guys. What do you think? I haven't really talked too much about that.
Taylor, what instruments do you play?
I don't play anything. I play the microphone here and just talk.
Well, we could make a spot for that too in the band.
I can be your hype man.
Yeah, when we play live shows, like sometimes we'll have other musicians join us too. Like for example, Rastan's wife is an ex-guitar player and bass player, so she's played some shows with us, and we've had other friends kind of join too. So it kind of depends if we're touring. It could look like we'll have other people on the thing with us, but when it comes to recording, writing, making decisions of the band, like we usually the three of us.
Can you tell us how you guys chose the name Saint Nomad for your group?
Yeah, so actually Ruslan and Jan were originally came up with that name, right, guys? But I think that it's just very authentic to like who we are as people. I mean, I'm literally calling you from the road. So I lived in Colorado, lived in Nashville, and now I'm moving to Sarasota, Florida. And so I don't know, like it's just a lifestyle thing for us where we're always on the go, and that's a part of it, but also like growing up touring and traveling was, I think, influenced that quite a bit. And also the idea of like being foreign and being, accepted now as American citizens, as Americans, but still feeling like, yeah, but we're, you can't disown the fact that you were born in a different country. And so you're kind of just like a drifter in a way. So I don't know. I think music has really helped us find a home with our fans, though. Like writing music, writing songs, and then playing those songs for people, and that whole community aspect. Music is such a big, thing with community. Like it just draws people together, and I think it just kind of ties in with who we are and what we do in our life, really. I don't know. Do you guys have anything to add to that, Jan Ruslan?
Yeah, I think you said it well. I mean, just the essence of being nomads, feeling like you're nomads. That's kind of where the name came from.
The name definitely makes sense, especially because before you got to where you are today, you guys did some serious touring for about a decade, playing roughly 150 shows a year. Was that exhausting or rewarding?
I would say it was both. It was definitely a lot of fun, but like now looking back at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was insane. We were teenagers back then, and I think we just had a lot more. We could stay up for many nights in a row and not really feel it as much. I don't know if I can do that now, but it was a blast. It was definitely a joy. I feel really lucky we got to do that.
Did this extensive touring impact the way that you create music?
Yeah, 100%. It did. I feel like it was just super informative when it comes to like our songwriting and how a crowd reacts. A live crowd reacts to music, and I think it really shaped our decision making in terms of like how we arrange songs, and even like the parts in the songs we choose to go on the albums and like go out into the world. I feel like it really is a synergy of being able to see the feedback in real time and during shows, and like being able to apply that into the music that you make and create, release. So,
what was the inspiration for the single "Nothing to Lose"?
Nikita, you want to take that one?
This is Nikita. Yeah, this is Nikita. So it's an interesting song. I kind of started like the idea of it in Denver, and then I was on a writing trip in LA, and I was writing with these guys in Hollywood, and like just the way the studio was situated, it was in the hills, and like you could see out you can see the city, you can see a bunch of stuff. It's kind of on a hilltop, and it was just this incredible scenery and incredible inspirational moment where I was like, you know what, I've been doing music for a while, and I just want to write the best song I can and just enjoy this, because what the heck, like, there's, nothing to lose. Like, you give it everything you have, and that's all you can give it. So I think a lot of people resonated with that, and I'm so excited to see the support we're getting from radio stations, just from fans, people hearing that song. I'm so grateful. So thank you, Taylor. I really appreciate that.
Of course, we're happy to support. The song is great, and I myself am really loving it.
Thank you.
You guys released your new album in 2020 called Memento Mori. Why did you choose this name, and what's the story behind the record?
Yeah, we've always liked to kind of marry dark themes with uplifting music. Like, if you think about it, just all humans in general, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, what really hits home and goes to the chest, like what makes you human, is often serious subjects. So we really like the visual aspect too. If you've seen the art where it's like a skull, but then there's flowers growing out of it and butterflies, which sounds weird as I'm describing it, but kind of the premise of the record is really marrying like tougher subjects or darker themes with trying to create like uplifting music that you can listen to, not necessarily be bummed out about all the time when you're thinking about such things. And also, I guess one thing to add to that is, if you know, memento mori in Latin means remember you have to die. So that's really, really dark and somber. But we saw it in the light of, like, if you know you have X amount of time left to live, you're going to make those days really cool. So on the one hand, it's quite dark to think about, hey, you never know, you could die tomorrow or whatever. But at the same time, if that's kind of on your mind always, it pushes you to live fully, pushes you to make every moment count and not just kind of live out your days without intention.
You've worked with some really impressive people in the industry, like the producer for James Bay and Kings of Leon. What was it like working with them? We
did work with Jakir King, and he was an amazing collaborator for us. We kind of, as Saint Nomad, have produced and written a lot of our own music and mixed it and everything. So working with Jakir was the first time we brought in a collaborator on the production and mixing front. That really, into Saint Nomad, that really made sense. He really kind of had the strengths and the skills that we don't. We're kind of like bedroom producers, if you will. Like, we kind of come from that world of, putting headphones on and working on something on your laptop in your room and recording drums in a garage and things like that, which a lot of the record is that. But working with Jakir, he's like a very proper trained engineer, and so we brought him our demos, and he was able to track drums properly over them in a very like professional way, and that really added a really nice element and a professionalism to the music that I feel like really complemented the two songs that we worked on with him. So he really and we learned a lot from him. And so this is something that we're applying to new music that we're creating now as well. So he was very influential for me personally. Just I've learned a lot from him.
You just dropped a new single in February called Heart on Drugs. What is the story of this song?
Nikita, you want to speak to that?
Sure, yeah. That's another one that that was written in multiple places, given the nature of the band with Nomad. So I started that one in Denver. We continued it in Amsterdam, Netherlands, at a writing camp, and then we wrapped it up in Nashville. So it's basically just like, when you just feel like you feel too much or maybe not enough. You're just trying to like figure out like, am I being too sensitive or am I not sensitive enough? Like, am I crazy or am I overreacting to the situation right now? Why is everyone else so chill? Or why am I crying and nobody else is? So that's basically it. It feels like I feel too much or maybe not enough. It feels like my heart's on drugs. So I just fell in love with that idea, and we actually ended up working with some really talented people. So I'm excited for people to hear that song.
Yeah, interesting enough, on the production side of that song, that one, so we were kind of working on it right in the height of quarantine, and we weren't able to be together in one room. So as I was working on the song on my end, on the production, I asked Jan to play drums, like to create his drum parts and just record him, because he didn't have access to recording equipment, just to record him in his basement on his laptop through like the laptop microphone. And so he did that and like created the parts, and we played the song, built the song around that, built the production. And then the time came, we're like, okay, let's get into a studio and like record the drums properly and like go through it. And we did all that and went through this whole extensive process of getting the quote unquote real drums on it. And then we listened to it and we're like, you know what? The laptop drums were better. And so an interesting, like a little interesting thing of like being in quarantine actually led to like a really interesting drum sound on that song. So that's a little bit geeky. I apologize if I went too much into production world, but that's just an interesting fact about the song.
It was not too geeky at all. I loved hearing about it. Even though you just dropped that song in February, is there any music we can look forward to later this year?
Yeah, so we're working on new single is going to come out, I believe in March. And so I think the plan overall is to have the album, like a full-length album, another full-length album done and released by fall. And so in between now and then, we're going to have multiple songs coming out. I think we're trying to do like monthly releases is kind of the plan, but it's always shifting and changing. We're writing a bunch of new songs. So I feel like that's the tentative plan at the moment.
All right, my last question for all three of you. If someone were to come to your cities, which is all over the place, what is the one thing they have to do?
I can tell you, I went to Sarasota for a weekend. I fell in love with it, and I'm moving there. So what convinced me was were the beaches and the water. So I'm excited for that. So I hope if you can get a chance to sneak away to Florida, Sarasota has some of the best beaches in America.
I would say for Nashville, I think for me, I would say that you'd have to experience Broadway, post-COVID, of course, but I would say you'd have to experience Broadway, a late night on Broadway. If you like to drink and party, it's a good time.
Yeah, Colorado is known for its mountains and skiing and whatnot. So Aspen is really great to check out, and Vail, if you're ever in town. I think that makes you fall in love with the state altogether.
Taylor, thank you so much for the support and for this interview and this time. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much, guys, for joining me and the Studio Cuts podcast.
Thanks, Taylor.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having us. Talk soon.
Make sure to check out Nothing to Lose by Saint Nomad and watch for their new album to be released. And don't forget to catch Sunday Studio Cuts, a new music show featuring all of the up-and-coming alternative music, hosted by me every Sunday at 10 p.m. on 92.7, 96.9 WRRV. Join us next week as we interview another up-and-coming alternative artist on the Studio Cuts podcast.